Hey everybody, we are live. It's the Grey Man again, joined by Cookie from Just a Little Podcast. And you would not believe this. Seconds ago, I was chatting to Don on his channel. I lay down on my bed to eat my dinner, and I just suddenly thought, hold on, what day is it today? And I was like, have I got no videos going live tonight? And I was just suddenly like, hold on a second, it's bloody well, I must be doing comic memories. Literally 2 minutes to 11, I realised that I was supposed to be doing it. So yeah, I'm a bit rushed. Very forgetful. Anyway, thanks for coming in. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm off from work, so just relaxing now for the rest of the day.
Cool. That's always good to be off work. So, yeah, you got some comics to show us. What kind of we want to go like into the history and that kind of thing of like people's collections and what got them into comic books and stuff like that. Do you want to start with your first comic and then we'll go on to that from there? Let's have a look at your first comic book first of all. And then we'll branch out into wherever we feel like going.
Sweet deal. So I'm gonna take you through like the history of me. It starts off with this book.
Oh yeah.
So Batman Adventures. As a kid, I was horrible at reading. I had dyslexia, or still do, and it was just really trouble for me to go and read and to kind of really gravitate towards reading and enjoying it. And of course, everybody knows like growing up, you have to really read. They mandate you to read in school, and for me, it was just like pulling teeth. I'd rather not do that if I can avoid it. And it was because I didn't know how to read. I was really crappy with it. Hooked on Phonics was something that my parents got me into that helped me out a lot. And I always gravitated towards the TV. That was my go-to Saturday morning cartoons. And one thing that I saw was Batman Adventures. And my dad was one who ended up telling me, he's like, hey, why don't we try to get him into comic books?
Yeah.
So he took me down to the local shop, which is still there today. And I ended up going and just seeing what books they had. And I was like, hey, Dad, I really like this because I used to watch it. So I was like, okay, cool. So having that memory of what I saw on television and then seeing the pictures inside there helped me quite a bit with kind of reading, because it gave me something to enjoy versus reading like To Kill a Mockingbird. Like, yes, it's a good book. However, it's not something that a kid wants to go and read or kid wants to enjoy.
Yeah, I think comic books are like good for boys, especially because boys like are notoriously not so good with reading and not so interested in reading. They want to be, out kicking footballs around and that kind of thing. So to get something like, a tie-in with a cartoon or something like that, something that they enjoy watching on the TV, get them to read. I think that's pretty cool. So you're quite young. You're quite young then, if that's one of your early books.
Yes, this was the first book that I actually owned. This is not the one that I had as a kid, but the first book that I actually owned. And then my first book that I bought was a Spider-Man book. Just loved Spider-Man. I always gravitated towards him as well. But DC was my first love when it came to comic books. And that's where it all began for me.
Yeah. Have you got like a favorite Batman villain, for example?
I would say Mr. Freeze has always been somebody that I've enjoyed. I loved his story because I felt like he was so he wasn't really a villain in my sense. He was really just like trying to make his wife happy. And of course, his wife passing away. It's like you've just felt depressed for him. You felt sad for him, and you wanted him to kind of win. Even though he was a villain, you wanted something to happen for him. And seeing that happen and knowing that Batman almost had to go and fight somebody who's, in essence, not really doing bad, but he's doing bad. Yeah. So I always love that.
He's doing bad for like good reasons that anyone could like feel empathy for, really.
Exactly.
If you got a loved one that you could save, or or you want to save, you'd do anything for them, wouldn't you? And if it means crossing the line, and then one of the villains I always liked was because I don't know why, he's just quite silly, really. He's the ventriloquist. I always thought the ventriloquist was
absolutely.
And it's just the whole kind of he plays so innocent, and he pretends like he's under the control of Scarface, the ventriloquist dummy. And there's a lot of like old horror films and like TV shows like Twilight Zone have had like dummies that have been like satanic or possessed their owners or whatever. So it kind of tying into that kind of mythos, I suppose, or trope. Yeah.
And you said something about football. So the world's football, not like everybody calls it soccer in America, but football. Because I'm Jamaican, so my parents always said football. Yeah. Do you have a West Ham? Is that West Ham on?
There, where is it? There we are. We won 3-1 tonight against Aston Villa.
Very nice, very nice. I'm a Manchester United fan, so
I'm sorry. I said the show early, everybody. We ended the show early. Cookie's no longer allowed on. That's fair enough. Any particular reason?
I used to watch Arsenal a lot because I always was a Thierry Henry fan. I loved him. I love when he used to wear the Vapors. I love football growing up, so I always watched him. And then the young star Rooney came into the picture, and I was a fanboy after Rooney. I loved him. I loved everything that he kind of stood for and how much energy he had. And then it just brought me into Old Trafford, and I love that arena. I love everything about it. I love the team. And
have you ever been?
My mom went for me. My mom's gone to Europe twice. I couldn't afford it, but she was like, I want to go backpacking. She went to Europe. She went to France, Italy, and then Austria.
Okay, cool. What about in America? Have you got any American soccer team that you follow?
No, nothing at all. It's kind of crap. I mean, when Beckham came, of course, Galaxy was nice, but he just brought in the hype of him. There was nothing really behind it. There's not really a lot of footballers down here that are enjoyable, especially in Florida. So.
All right. You did quite well on the international stage, though. I mean, the USA always sort of like the women, and especially the women, actually, are really kind of big in the World Cup sort of state, aren't they?
Absolutely. I stopped watching the American World Cup. I used to watch it a few times, like as far as follow the team, but I stopped watching them. I like to watch the female soccer plays a lot more because they're a lot more enjoyable. They're a lot more entertaining, and they're eager to win. They're constantly eager to win. I think the men's team is just kind of lackluster.
Right. I think maybe because the other countries that they're playing against have got a lot more experience. And you seem to have quite a good sort of funding behind a lot of your sports. So maybe it's helping with the women because maybe the funding for the women in the rest of the world isn't quite as high, and maybe that's helping them to achieve more than the men can. I don't know. It's just a theory.
Very good theory.
What about the rest of that run? Have you got all the keys in that run? Is that the one with the Harley Quinn, isn't it?
I wish I had the Harley Quinn. No, I don't. I did get, I would say last year, I got one of my favorite stories, which was, I can't remember the number now, but it actually had Mr. Freeze on the cover, and it was like a holiday special. Yeah. And that was something that I loved because reading as a kid, I love Batman Adventures because each book was a standalone book. Like you can enjoy it, you put it down, you go on to the next chapter or the next book, and it's something totally different.
Yeah, they're good. Them tie-in ones like to the cartoon. I mean, they should do more of them really because that's the good way to get. They need to be getting new readers in. If they had a cartoon now running with a comic that went with it, they could get a lot more kids in again. That's what they need to carry on doing. I think.
I agree.
Stop catering to us old farts and get the young kids in, the ones who are going to be buying your comic books for the next 40 years or whatever.
Exactly. And even with this series, reading it, watching it, it was meant for kids, of course, but I'm still an adult and I can literally pop in it right now and I go watch it and I'll sit there in front of the TV glued to it. And it still captivates me after years and years. 1997, 1993, this thing came out.
Still really entertaining as well. That was always one of some people's most favorite kind of cartoon series. It's really kind of, although it's for kids, it's not like so sappy as to make adults like just want to turn off.
Exactly.
Because it's not like full of like hollow morals and like like you might have Masters of the Universe. I don't even remember that. They always have a moral at the end, like preached at you, and it was like, even as a kid, you'd be like, oh, this is boring. But Batman never did that. Batman was just did what was right. Yeah, and punched a few people as well. It was always good.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
I'm probably gonna upset you, but I never collected that run. But my comic shop, for some reason, put in the first Harley Quinn in my box. I wasn't collecting it. I put it in there. I was like, oh, I might as well buy it then. So that's practically the only one I've got of that run. I managed to pick it up face value when it came out.
That's fantastic.
I know, it was a bit of luck.
That's crazy.
Anyway, what about other cartoons after that? I mean, when you first started buying, that was the first comic you picked up. Did you start getting a monthly one, or did you just go when you had a bit of pocket money?
I went with I had some pocket money. As a kid, my parents used to make me always kind of work for everything. So I got an allowance, but it wasn't like a crazy amount of allowance. And I usually spent that on food. I was always eating a whole bunch of crap. And I noticed I didn't have a lot of money after that. So it's I couldn't take a girl on a date, or I couldn't do anything past that point. And I collected comic books, I'd probably say up until almost the end of middle school. And then really girls kind of took place after that. And it was comic books are not for guys. So it's Phillies all the way. Let's go on to something better. And so I used to cut grass as a kid. and my mom was terrified of me dying because she always thought that the blade was going to come off the lawnmower and kill me and chop me up. So I had to get an old school push lawnmower, the ones that are like the wheels like this. And oh my God, I hated it. So I legit worked for every single dollar that I got, and I put it into comic books. And that's where everything started, and I loved it from there.
Yeah. Well, when you sort of quit to court girls, did you sell your collection, or did you keep it still?
Some of it I gave it away to family. I kind of gave it away to younger nephews and stuff like that. And my nephew has a few short boxes and some long boxes of my comic books. So when I go over there, like I'll just scramble through and I'll see like my Spider-Mans that I gave him, all those books.
You never feel tempted to sort of like take it back? Like it was mine originally. I'm keeping it.
One of them I did because I went. I don't live with my parents anymore, so I went back to my mom's house, and in like my old room, she had this box, and I just kind of was going through some old stuff. My dad recently passed away, so I was going there visiting my mom, and I went to the room, and I'm just searching through, and I found a handful of Spider-Man books and a handful of Superman books, and I don't remember any Superman books. And Mom was like, "Oh yeah, I remember seeing this, and it looked really shiny, so I collected it for you because it was a shiny cover." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I hop on, of course, on eBay, and it's not worth anything. I'm like, crap. Of course, in the 90s, you get fooled into having a shiny cover.
Yeah. There's not many that are worth. And then everyone want to come along every now and again that's worth silly money, and it's like, what the hell?
Exactly.
It's the worst. I mean, in a way, I prefer the ones that haven't got a lot of my values, because especially when I'm trying to get a series. I'm a full series collector. I like to get the whole run, and it always annoys me. It's like, this is like 50 quid because it's got like a Neil Adams cover, and it's like, other than that, there's nothing key. Just it's got a nice cover on it, and that gets on my nerves.
I'm the same way.
But if I already own it, then it's good. I'm happy that's gone up in price. But if I've got to buy it to fill a run, it's like, oh man.
For sure. Now, could you explain to me what is the difference between a quid and then a pound?
It's just the quid is just slang for a pound.
Okay, so it's the same thing.
Yeah, so we say quid, nicker is another one that we might say for money. Squids, something we say squids just because we're being silly. What about comic shop buying? Did you have? Where was you living when you were young? Would you have a lot of comic shop around? Did you have to travel to go to the comic shop, or was it nearby?
It's crazy. I actually lived in roughly the same area. I was born in West Palm, and I've actually lived here just about my entire life.
Where's West Palm? Is that Florida? That's
Florida, yeah. So it's Miami is about, depending on which part of Miami. Like if you were to go like deep south Miami, maybe about 2.5 hours away, give or take, with traffic.
Okay.
So kind of give you an idea of where things are located.
Slightly.
Let's see what else. Of course, like New York is the complete opposite direction. So New York would probably take me about 24 hours to get to New York.
Right. So the opposite, because you're right down. Then they call it the United States
Panhandle, pretty much.
Like it's Panhandle. Okay, yeah. I was going with something ruder. I'm sure I've heard it being something ruder, like the USA's Johnson or something like that. A little Florida hanging down the bottom there.
That is true. It's a little Johnson too. So where the shop is for me, even right now, it's about maybe 15 minutes away, give or take 15, 20 minutes away. I have 3 shops in my area within about a 30 minute distance.
That's cool.
I don't like them though. They kind of suck for me.
That's not good. Why is that then? You got to tell us the stories of that. Then you got to tell us the stories of what happened to alienate those shops for you.
Don't get me wrong. Like, of course, support your local comic shops. Absolutely. What sucks is like sometimes when they upcharge on a book that just came out and it's a variant cover, and it's not like it's it's not anything 1 in 25, 1 in 50, 1 in 100. It's just a regular old variant. And they have it for $20. And it's like the comic just came out for $4. Why are you gonna upsell it? I can go down the street and get it for the exact same price.
And every shop does that. All 3 of them do that, do they?
One does it. The other one, it's a complete mess. There's no organization at all inside there. So it's nice if you want to go and spend the entire day just hunting through long boxes, and it's like hundreds of long boxes. So that's fun, but they do charge, like they know their books. So it's like if you grab a certain book, they're going to go and say, oh yeah, I know that price off the top of my head, and they're going to have it high. So if it's a key, good luck with finding a key.
So there's no places you can get bargains there. You're not like a thrift store or yard sale, whatever they call them.
I wish there was. The only one that I have, because I live not too far from Javi, Conquistador Javi, and then Hialeah Comic Bro. They live actually down closer to Miami. So
those scoundrels.
I'll visit them, and when I visit them, you have Phil's shop, which is Take the Time Collectibles, Brian. So he works at that shop.
Okay.
Really, really nice guy. Really nice shop. If I go down there, I always visit him, and I always have a list of stuff that I want to buy. And if I go down there,
does he give you a discount? You say, come on, YouTube, YouTube, give him the secret handshake. YouTube buddies, 10%, 15% discount.
He's good about it. He definitely is good. And it's funny because like a lot of times when I go down there, I'll go down there just to buy books for other people. I always love that. I've kind of like transitioned into buying books for other people because I like to see the reaction that they get from it because it makes me happy to see that they're going to enjoy it. They're going to appreciate it. And a lot of times I always tell them like, hey, Brian, like I want to get a book for somebody. This is what I'm looking for. And he's like, I got you. Don't worry. And then sometimes he even throws like a free book in there. He's like, I'll take care of that when you're good.
Yeah, we've got a question here from the chat.
Yep.
I just noticed it. I have a question. What is it like living with so many other comic book YouTubers in the same state? I think it would be cool to have friends close.
It is. It definitely is. So we have Hialeah, which is, of course, down in Hialeah. We have Javi, who's in, I think, Fort Lauderdale area. We have Stay Puff, who's in Orlando. We have, let's see, Steve Whiting, who's in the Fort Myers area, which is like on the West Coast. We have Central, which is Jim Boatwright. I think we have Metarog now. I don't know exactly where. I think Metarog is also Central Florida. So it's like a nice little cluster of us, even though we're all kind of like scattered around the state, which is like 2-3 hours away distance to like the furthest person. It is amazing. It's really, really good.
Have you had lockdown there? I thought I heard Florida never had any lockdown. Is that right?
No, not at all.
Okay. So you could all meet up and
like
do some kind of joint project.
My wife and I went to the west coast of Florida, and where we live, it's mandated that you have to wear a mask, social distancing, all that stuff. We went to the west side of Florida. Nobody wears a mask. Cops don't wear a mask. You can walk into a shop with no mask on. You can sit there and drink alcohol all day long at the pub. Nobody cares. And it's like, I'm sitting there with my mask on. Like I'll pull it down, drink, put it back up.
Yeah, it's awkward, isn't it? It makes you feel a bit like, why am I doing this and nobody else is? But yeah, we're all not too bad here in London. Most people wear masks. Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's not go into talking about Corona because people have got various theories about it, haven't they? So let's just talk about comic books.
For sure. For sure.
Right. Do you want to move on to your next comic? Show us what next one you want to talk about.
So after Batman, I kind of started to get a lot more into Marvel, a lot more into Spider-Man. But before or after Spider-Man and watching Batman animated series, I ended up picking Gambit as one of my favorite X-Men. And of course, as we were talking about earlier, the foil cover or the shiny covers.
Yeah.
So
it's like when you were little. Did you buy that when you was young? Then is that one of them?
I bought the black one when I was young, not knowing that there was a great variant. And I went to the same shop, and I was like, "Hey, man!" So I had this as a kid, and I had the same one that I had as a kid. I was like, I heard that there's a gold one. Can you go and help me find it? And I was pretty close with the owner of the manager of the shop. And he's like, I'll take a look and I'll see what I can find. And I went on eBay, and eBay had it like $50, $60. But of course, I wanted to support my local shop. And he's like, yeah, man, I got it for you. Come by the shop. It's a high grade. I'm like, sweet deal. And it really is a high grade. And they asked $200 for it.
Wow.
And at the time, this was a $50, $60 book. And I was fresh with coming back into comics. So I messed up, and I was like, hey, man, like on eBay, I'm just pulling out my phone on eBay. It's like $50, $60. And he got pissed off with me. Yeah. And I felt bad because I didn't know that, of course, if you go to a shop, you can't really bring up eBay because eBay doesn't have any overhead price, like cover on anything like that.
Yeah, but he can't expect you to like just pay whatever he says. Like, you know, if you haven't agreed on a price yet, then exactly. It's a bit much to say. So expect you to just pay it, dish up $200. Yeah. Wow, I'm surprised that book goes for that much, man. I can't believe it. That's the thing, though. You just don't know with books. Like, it's just random book, and you can't see a rhyme or reason for it sometimes.
Exactly.
It's not a first appearance or nothing like that. It's just the fact it's a rare gold one, is it?
Correct. Yeah, it's just a rare gold one. This is, I guess you would say, volume 2 of his standalone.
Right.
I've always loved Gambit. I love the story. I love who he is. The fact that he came from the Guild of Thieves, and then you had the Guild of Assassins. This story arc kind of takes place with him kind of getting married to one of the princesses of the Guild of Assassins and trying to join them up together.
Yeah.
And then he ends up fighting her brother, kills the brother. He gets his powers.
It's kind of like Romeo and Juliet, the houses of Montague and Capulet, by the sounds of it. I've got a feeling that I've got that 4-part. Is it a 4-part, that Gambit?
It is.
I've got a feeling I've got that, yeah. But it's a bit like Gambit, one of those characters. There's two characters I don't like much: Gambit and Wolverine.
Oh man!
So I think I put that Gambit in my to sell part. I have to go and check to see if it's a gold one. I don't think it is, but I'll have to check. But yeah, I don't know what it is, but I think it was just like because he spoke in the accent all the time and having to read it and like all the time. I used to sort of like took a while to read it. And for some reason, I found that a bit annoying. Also, he was a bit of a womanizer as well. Like there's this one bit when we were in X-Men 1, he kisses like an unconscious woman, like, and I was like, well, that's a bit off. I was like, a bit of a. Anyway,
he is a ladies' man for sure. He definitely is. I loved him. I think because when I first read it, I love Storm. I think everybody kind of loves Storm, and seeing Halle Berry, you can't help but fall in love with Halle Berry. But like seeing her and then seeing the fact that Gambit kind of came into the picture with Storm, and there was no back history. Like Chris Claremont didn't create a back history for him at that time. It was just, hey, he kind of fell into the area at the right time, at the right moment, and took off with that.
So when he first came in, they didn't know what his backstory was.
Correct. Yeah, they didn't have a backstory. It came in, what was it? X-Men Annual, I can't remember the number now, 13, I think it was, or something like that, where he was kind of like hired as an assassin to go and kill off certain mutants, I believe it was.
Right. And later on, wasn't he retconned that he was one of the Marauders, wasn't it? Or he had something to do with the Marauders.
Yeah.
And it seems to be like quite a good ploy, like bringing in characters like mystery back, like Wolverine had a mystery big in history forever, and it's it kind of it's that sort of air of mystery just kind of get into like comic readers' kind of skin, and they got they tend to like that kind of thing, like all the mystery, what's going to be his story, and making their own theories and that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
I definitely love it.
What do you think of his power set as well? The cards and the staff.
I think that was really dope. There was a storyline that I remember reading as a kid. I can't remember exactly what it was. Maybe somebody in the chat might know. But it was he ended up getting, I guess he joined up with like another group, and I forgot who the guy was, like Sun Destroyer or something of that nature. And he ended up following him. He kind of followed in his footsteps, and he found out that was actually him from an alternate future.
This is why I quit Marvel in the mid-90s, because there was too many people being their own granddads and that kind of thing. It was just like
it was weird.
Clone of the daughter of the son of the cousin 3 times removed kind of thing. And it was like, it just got too much for me.
That was one of the stories. It was so weird to go and read it, and then you find out that he was there to go and kill off all the Gambits that were in all these different timelines, because he didn't want Gambit to destroy the world that he once loved.
Right.
And I guess Gambit at that time was so powerful with his telekinesis that he destroyed the world that he lived on.
Fair enough. And do you still read his stories now? Because he's married to Storm now, hasn't he? Wasn't it a marriage issue? Was that one of them rare comic book weddings where the wedding actually went through?
Yes, I think I forgot what it was. Like a wedding that was happening, and then on the sidelines it was Gambit and Rogue having their wedding with like a rabbi.
Oh, okay.
But I never really got into their storyline of like how they kind of went on and did their own thing. It just never really attracted to me.
Why did they have a rabbi? Was one of them Jewish?
I don't know.
They just happened to have. They couldn't. They weren't worried who did it.
Yeah, they couldn't find
maybe right. Yeah. As long as they can do the ceremony. I just didn't think I was only asked because I was thinking I don't remember them having like a Jewish heritage, but maybe they did. I just didn't remember.
That'd be interesting to look up. Yeah.
Okay. So was that? Did you? Was it the X-Men 90s cartoon that you saw him in as well?
Yes, that's the main reason why I jumped to him is because of X-Men cartoon.
Yeah, and was it? Or did that kind of like the story of most of your your favorites cartoon first, and then the comic book followed?
Yes and no. There's the last two that I will talk about weren't necessarily based on a cartoon. One was based off of just the comics, and then the last one's based off of movies.
Right. Okay. Let's move on to the third one anyway. Let's see your next book.
Third one is this guy right here, which is Nightcrawler.
Okay. You can't really see him very well in that one.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah.
I loved his storyline. I loved who he became. I love the fact that he is Mystique's son. I love the fact that he's a demon, and at the same time he's like so involved in religion and so involved in the church and being like wanted to be a priest almost. So growing up, religion was a heavy thing in my family. Went to church every single Sunday. Everything kind of like was follow the word, follow the Bible. And that's how I kind of grew up. And seeing a demon as a good person, it was like, whoa. It was like the complete opposite of what I was taught and what I kind of saw as like a kid.
You right?
Yeah.
Oh, you went quiet. I thought he was gonna.
Oh yeah, you're good. I thought you were reading like someone had a question again.
I know.
Yeah.
Just someone saying hello. That's all. Shameless plug. Apparently, Whack Comics only needs 3 more subs to get 400. So anyone not subbed to Whack, go and sub him up.
Right on.
But that was relatively recent, though. The fact, I mean, he always looked like a demon, but I thought it was just supposed to have been just a mutant power made him look like that. But then it was long while after he first came around, they decided that he's actually got demonic. What is his dad supposed to be a demon or something?
Yeah, I think his dad was a demon and his mom was Mystique. And I remember seeing it from Giant Size X-Men. Of course, I couldn't afford Giant Size X-Men, but I remember seeing that and kind of hearing the storyline about that. And I remember picking up as an adult, just picking up like the facsimile type of thing of it and reading into that how Professor X ended up going and finding him and trying to go and save him because I guess he was being attacked by his own people where he lived in Germany. Yeah. They saw him as a demon. They wanted to kill him. And they were burning their entire city down, their village down, just to go and kill him. And then he just vamped out of nowhere. And of course, Professor X was there and like, hey, I have a sanctuary for you. I can protect you. I can save you. I'm like you. I'm a mutant. And I was like, that was so cool.
Yeah, he's quite a cool character. It was like the teleportation, and he's a bit of a swashbuckler, and always like very kind of compassionate kind of guy as well, wasn't he? He's always. Sure. Yeah, when with being looking like the outcast, he kind of took that and knew how to be compassionate towards other people because he never got much compassion himself, I suppose. So He always knew what it was like to be downtrodden or that kind of thing.
And he also was a pirate too, which is really cool.
Yeah, what was that about? Did he just dress up as a pirate, or he actually was a pirate at that point?
I want to say he actually was a pirate, and it was like he was going through like different dimensions, different portal dimensions.
Right.
And he was like almost like a space pirate, if you will.
Because I think did that happen in Excalibur? Because I remember I had the first one of Excalibur. Quite a few of them. I ended up trading them with a mate for some Legion 88s. But yeah, it was quite a good read. I quite enjoyed that run. What I remember of it. It was a while ago now, though.
Yeah, it was definitely Excalibur, and then he had. I think I want to say he had either 4 or 5 part miniseries as well. That I want to say I have. I got to find it somewhere here.
Yeah,
definitely good read. And
also, he's always like a good team player as well with the X-Men. Yeah, like getting people out of trouble and that kind of thing.
Exactly. So cool.
Yeah, sticks to walls and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Not like a super powerhouse, but very handy, very useful.
For sure. Yeah. And the fact that like when he did his teleportation, it always said Banff.
Yeah.
So every single time that always for me that was really cool to go and see that.
And it was supposed to be the smell of sulfur as well, wasn't it? Like the demon kind of brimstone kind of smell. So because who is his father like a known demon from? And how did Mystique end up?
That's something I don't know. I don't know if that's like one of the X-Men mysteries of the world type of thing where I've only known of Mystique being the mother. I didn't really know anything past that point.
Yeah. Wasn't she the mother of someone else as well? She was adopted mother of Rogue, isn't she?
Yes, she's the adopted mother of Rogue. And I remember seeing Gambit because there was a time where Mystique ended up kind of transitioning her body so that she looked like Rogue, and she ended up trying to have an affair with Gambit, which was really weird. It's like, that's your girlfriend's mom who's trying to now. Yeah.
Well, I've seen plenty of videos like that, but yeah, let's not go there.
Not good acting, of course. Never good acting.
No, and there's normally like pizzas being delivered or someone fixing the washing machine, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's I don't know anything about that. I've heard from other people. Bill told me about. Yeah. Bill from Comic Mags Musing told me all about that kind of video. I don't know nothing about it. But who is your favorite X-Men?
Oh man, honestly, it's between the two of them. It's between Gambit and it's between Nightcrawler. It depends on which way the wind's blowing. Some days it will be Nightcrawler, other days it will be Gambit. I couldn't tell you. It's like picking between your two favorite kids.
Yeah, I'm terrible at making up my favorites. I think my favorite X-Men, though, just from first seeing him, was Cyclops. I've mentioned this a few times. I like Cyclops. He was one of the first ones I saw, and I liked his relationship with Jean Grey and that. And I just thought he was cool.
Absolutely, I love that.
Yeah, I've heard
he's always a leader. He's always a good leader.
Yeah, although I mean, in the period when I wasn't reading Marvel, I've heard that he's like a lot of people don't like him now. He's like too officious, and they kind of sort of. That's the thing with comics having such longevity, kind of so long. They write new things in like all the time, and like once they've like decided to, once they've decided his dad's a demon and his mum's Mystique, that's it. That's you that story is told, and you can't shut the door once you've when you made that decision, kind of thing, unless they re-retcon it. Like
And it's like at which point there's no point in doing that.
Yeah, it gets to get a bit weird, doesn't it? Oh man, yeah, you need a blinking proper playbook to catch up with all the X-Men origins, especially with the time traveling starts up.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Gambit. When he had like his miniseries, Chris Claremont left because of Jim Lee. I think that they had issues. They have creative issues, and they ended up splitting. And then Chris Claremont came back into the role, and he's trying to bring all the X-Men together, all these different X-Men comic books together, because it was such a scattered disaster at the time. And in the 90s, comic books took a huge plummet, especially with Marvel, took a huge plummet.
Yeah. And they started doing too many, didn't they? They kind of, by sort of making so many, they kind of diluted the main product, I suppose, in a way. And there was so much going on. I think some people, I'd imagine, just say, I can't deal with this anymore. It's too much information. I'm not going to buy it. Maybe that's kind of half of what I did when I quit Marvel and went DC, fully DC. And I've never gone back. But anyway, I just buy old Marvel comics now, which is cool. Are you still collecting now? Are you still like regular collecting?
I still am collecting. I still read. I haven't been as of right now. I kind of took a little hiatus for a little bit. I do pick up when I can pick up. I've been picking up more indie books than anything else. I've been really liking the indie. I did pick up like House and Powers of X and 10, but then once it really started to bring in all of these X-Men books, I can't afford to read all of this stuff to understand everything that's going on. Same thing with Donny Cates when he did like Absolute Carnage. Then you had Ghost Rider, and it's like Immortal. All these different things kind of culminate into one. It's so hard to budget all that.
And that's the thing. Like when I was a kid, like when I first started collecting properly, there was like probably every year there was a big crossover event. But then it just got more and more and more, and everyone's crossing over with everybody else. And of me, it always wanted to be like a completist and have the full story. Like if it was going to another comic, I'd try and get hold of that comic, and it's a nightmare. And now it seems like, God, it's not hardly a comic doesn't come out. It's not connected to some massive story arc somewhere.
That's why I've been enjoying the indies. It's like you can read them. There's short little miniseries, and then if they really get enjoyable and good, then they continue on. So like, what was the one that I've just been reading that just came back? Honor and Curse, which is, I forgot where it's from. It's not Boom Studios, but it's one of them that came out. Maybe Mad Cave, I think it is. That was just a 5-part miniseries, and now they're on issue 8, and it's been a really great ride. It's been enjoyable. And it's just by itself. I don't have to, like you said, pick up all these other books just to go and enjoy one storyline. Yeah.
There's some, maybe they need to sort of like cut back a little bit on, like how many mutant books are there now? Like 6 or something. But there's X-Force again. And
it's too much.
Yeah. No, and also comics are so expensive nowadays. I mean, like you say with the variants that they sort of like they decide and they kind of like pluck a number out of the air. Oh, it says $4 on it. I'll make it 50. Special variant this one. If you want this one, you can have it for $50. that to me is criminal. I can't believe they didn't even get away with that.
Yeah, it's insane. It's definitely insane.
Oh well. Anyway, let's move on. Is this your fourth book now?
This is my fourth book.
Your fourth book. We got another mutant, or
no? Thor 337. So it's the first appearance of Beta Ray Bill.
Okay, cool.
So
is it Thor or Beta Ray Bill that we were talking about?
Really?
Which one are we going to discuss? Thor or Beta Ray Bill?
Beta Ray Bill.
Right. So he's one of your faves, is he?
He is definitely my favorite. I think out of any type of Marvel character, he's up there for me. The reason why I loved him, because I love Thor. I loved reading Thor. I love the mythology of Thor and everything that came along with it. And I think I enjoyed it so much because there were so many difficult words. And it's like I would try to figure out who this person is, where it came from, and all the history.
Verily, forsooth.
So it's insane to read all that. And then I ended up seeing this cover, and I remember picking it up. And Thor, of course, had his hammer Mjolnir. And at that time, nobody wielded Mjolnir. Nobody could touch it. Nobody could handle that hammer. And nobody was worthy enough. And then Beta Ray Bill came from his planet because his planet was destroyed. I think it was destroyed by Galactus. And he ended up kind of, I guess, flying around the cosmos in his ship. And then Thor's father came into the picture, saw Beta Ray Bill, talked to like his people and all that stuff. And then I guess it almost seemed like he was a villain at the beginning because he ended up fighting Thor. And they said, okay, like Odin said, why don't you guys fight to see who is truly like the most powerful and the most worthy? Because Beta Ray Bill literally just picked up the hammer like it was nothing. Like it was like an ice cube on the floor, just picked it up. It was easy. And when I read that, I was completely baffled and just mind blown. I'm like, oh, he's worthy. Oh my God, he's worthy.
Is that the first time ever it was in Thor? Was that the first time it ever happened?
Yeah, first time ever that happened. And I was so taken back from it because he almost was portrayed as a villain. And it's like, how is a villain worthy enough to go and hold Mjolnir? Yeah. And I didn't understand it. And he destroyed Thor. He literally just beat Thor to a pulp. And he ended up not taking Mjolnir's hammer. He ended up getting, what's going on, Slim? He ended up getting his own type of hammer, which was Stormbreaker. So it was almost like an axe and a hammer at the same time.
Yeah. Was that like going back to you talking about your upbringing, Norse mythology, Norse gods? Is that not like blasphemy or something? Is it?
I don't even know. I think I always loved Hercules, and I always loved that type of Greek god-esque feel. And then knowing that there's other mythos out there, I of course just kind of ventured into that and started to read into that and understand it more. And I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the Viking feel and the just brutality of it.
So sometimes I remember when I was younger, like I didn't get that many Thors because sometimes there's the big flowery language. I was a little bit, but yeah, I didn't mind. But now I'm kind of like, it's not like one of my favorites, but I always like when I read a Thor comic, it's always a good yarn. It's always a good fight, and he's always, they're pretty good villains and that kind of thing. I love Hercules as well. I'm surprised Hercules never got more like big of a run. I always found it so amusing. And one of my favorite Thor comics is the one where you probably know Hercules is chatting up a young lady and he's like palming off, like face palming Thor. Do you know that one?
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about. That's hilarious.
It's a great story as well, isn't it? And this is the one I'm thinking it is. I might be mixing it. Is it that? There's one story, I think, is that cover where he's talking of his exploits to like some kids in a park.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's like, they're all like laughing up that he's always beating Thor, and he sees one little kid looking unhappy, and he realizes he's a Thor fan, so he's sort of like, oh, and then Thor grabbed me and he hit me so hard. I just thought that was a really like touching kind of story, I thought Hercules is a bombastic, like drunk. He likes to drink and he likes to carouse or whatever, but he's at heart, he's a good guy, I think.
Yeah, good guy at heart, absolutely. Yeah, I remember seeing him on the cover of a few of the Thor covers, and it was just him like versing Thor. I always thought that was awesome because he's just a drunk guy that just wants to have fun, enjoy life.
Yeah, that's right. Like he likes to get into a fight, and after the fight's over, he's like, "Oh, that was awesome. Let's have a drink," that kind of thing.
Exactly. Speaking of drinks, I heard this, and I don't know how you can do it. How do you drink warm beer?
Just open your mouth.
I I've tried it before, and it's just like, I don't know, maybe it's just the beer that I have. I can't drink warm beer.
I think it's kind of like more warm room temperature than warm, because like back in the day we didn't have all these things for keeping the beer cool. So like mainly it's like the bitters and the ales and the stouts that they just keep them in casks. And I think the other, I mean, it's not that hot here most of the time, so it's not like it's warm as in. It's kind of this room temperature, really, I suppose. And I suppose you get used to it. I don't think, especially if it's really hot, you can have they do some cold beer, like the lagers, what we call lager, and like there might be some American beers or German beers or whatever, and they'll be colder because they use CO2, don't they, to pump them up or something, and it helps them stay cool. Yeah, but we just room temperature. Well, if you ever get over here, like comic hunting, anyone ever comes over to London, we can go and have a few beers, and I'll show you some comic shops, and you get the taste for some warm beer, mate.
It's on my bucket list to make it over there. Hopefully, when COVID dies down.
Yeah. All right. What was we talking about? We're talking about Hercules. Okay. Because the funny thing is, as well, with the mythology characters, is that anyone can use them, can't they? Because Hercules has also been in DC, where he's not sort of portrayed nowhere near as kindly or positively as he is in
Marvel.
Yeah, because in Greek mythology, he did the wrong one to the Amazons, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
He steal the girdle or something from one of the Amazons is one of his tasks, and so like Wonder Woman thinks he's a bit of an arse to be polite, but not to be polite, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure.
I've also seen Thor, I think, in Savage Dragon. I'm pretty sure there was a Thor in Savage Dragon one time.
So I used to collect Savage Dragon as a kid. I still have the first 20 issues, and it was funny because I remember reading it, and of course there's a little bit of nudity in there, and I'm reading on the couch, and my mom looks over, and she's like, "What's this?" And I'm like, "Oh crap, I'm in trouble."
Oh no, busted.
The same thing happened with Conan. I wasn't allowed to read Conan as a kid. Wasn't allowed to read Savage Dragon as a kid. I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" Like, come on, mom. Let me live.
It wasn't super graphic though. I don't remember.
No, it wasn't graphic.
Super graphic. No, it wasn't like I think it was the odd bum or something like that. Really, I can't remember now. Behind pushy, whatever you call it.
Not too crazy.
No, but I quite like that. I think. Did you get into that Image era? Was that must have been when you was sort of quite early in comics? Was it that 90s Image?
It was. When it came to Image, the only thing that I really did was Spawn, and my mom hated me for getting into Spawn. And of course, I watched the movie of Spawn, and she's like, "You can't watch this. This is demonic and all this stuff." I'm like, "Oh, Mom, just let it ride." Like he's not really a demon. Like he's kind of like he went to hell, Mom. Okay, but he's trying to save his wife. Just let him do his thing.
Yeah. Cool. So was that that was the only Image when you was into this, just the Spawn one? That was the one.
Just Spawn.
Cool. Yeah, I sort of started on them myself, but then after a while I started finding some of the stories a bit. Actually, there's a all sort of style and not so much substance. So I kind of moved away from them a little bit.
Same here.
What about a role model? Have you got any superhero role model? Where you think like Captain America or Superman or something like that? Have you got anyone that you think is the epitome of what superheroes should be?
Yes. For Marvel, it has to be Spider-Man. I've always looked at Spider-Man because as a kid, I was picked on a lot. I was skinny. I was nerdy. I loved science. I was decent at math. I read comic books. I didn't get into sports. I got into sports, but it wasn't in school. It was always sports outside of school. So when I went in there, nobody knew that I knew how to play football. Nobody knew that I played basketball or anything like that. It was, that's a little nerd kid.
Yeah.
My mom was good.
So did you used to walk around dreaming of what superpowers you'd like to have?
Oh yes. It's funny because I liked Superman a little bit, but I liked Batman more. But it was funny because I forgot who I told this thing. I might have told it to Magic Lasso. But during my younger years, I was like, man, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I knew I wanted to have money. Everybody wants to have money, be rich, and live their lavish life. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a stripper. So I ended up going to the strip club, and I climbed a pole, and I realized that I was afraid of heights. So that was the end of my career for stripping.
Right.
I'm just joking. None of that happened.
I was going to say, what?
None of that happened. I'm just joking with you. But yes, Spider-Man's always been somebody that I've looked up to, and I've kind of imagined to see, like, if I had his powers, if I had his strength, if I was able to kind of crawl on walls, I had the spider sense. For me was one of the biggest things, to kind of see danger, know that I could avoid it. That was something that was so cool for me.
Yeah, I know you think about it. He was like, his powers came with a complete accident, and he's just a young kid on his own. He doesn't confide in anyone either, does he? Like in the film, obviously Iron Man is like his mentor most recently, but in the comic books, it was always him. To be honest, he didn't start off by doing the right thing, though, did he? Mm-hmm. He kind of learned his lesson when he let the villain run away and kill his Uncle Ben. Like. Exactly. So yeah, it's kind of. But then eventually, he started doing the right thing. But yeah, it's a shame he didn't do it straight away.
Yeah, for sure. When it comes to DC, I would have to say John Jones, Martian Manhunter. Right. That's always been for me a go-to. Cookies, yes, it is. That's hilarious, for sure. Martian Manhunter for me was always a go-to, especially with the Justice League. I always thought of him as the leader of the Justice League, like kind of like the hidden leader. He always had the mentality of to do right, know what to do, and it was almost like everything he did was correct.
Yeah, yeah. Like one of the he's a Martian, but he's the most human amongst the group. I think I was sure that was said once in one of the comic books. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, he's the most human. Like, and he always took his turn on Monitor Watch as well.
For sure. And I want to say from his home planet, he was almost like the president of his home planet before it got destroyed.
Okay, that's been retconned so many times, though.
Yeah, it's hard to know what's going on.
Yeah, it's like one minute he's like he's the only survivor of his race. Another minute they're popping over and visiting him in every 5 minutes, like in like some of the old early comic books kind of thing. It's interesting. Sure. Hello. Ignore comic mags musing. He's been stuck with me for ages. What a liar. Okay. So, have you read like equally DC and Marvel, or have you got a favorite between the two?
I'm probably more Marvel than I am DC, but I do have. I think I have one short box of DC and probably like 3 or 4 short boxes right now of Marvel, and then I have maybe 1.5 short boxes of indie.
All right. Cool. All right, let's move. We've got one more comic to go, haven't we? I think.
Yes, sir. So
let's go and have a look at that last one.
This is my last comic book.
Okay, yeah. Star Wars.
This is one of my first loves into nerdom, into pop culture, and it has continued to be my first love, and it's still my love.
Right.
When it comes to comic books, I am a Star Wars collector. I have a short box dedicated to Star Wars alone. I'm going to be on my second short box dedicated to Star Wars alone, and this is probably the first run that I've wanted to complete from start to finish of Volume 1, which is it's a lot of books. There are some now because of Mandalorian. There's a lot of keys that are really expensive.
Yeah, I've heard they've rocketed up recently.
Oh, yeah. It's insane. Thank God I think I have majority of all the keys when it comes to the first volume. Maybe 1 or 2 keys left to go and pick up, and everything else is just filler issues.
All right. I'm sure I saw you. Did you get an AOK of some Star Wars recently, or did you just get
I did.
You got an AOK? Who was that for? I can't remember now.
That was from Mr. G-Man. He gave me a lot of not DC. He gave me a lot of Dark Horse ones, which I didn't read too much in. Like I read a few of them, knowing them, and when he gave them to me, and he's like, "Hey, man, so like those last 3 or 4 books, that is the first draft of what George Lucas wanted to write for Star Wars."
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh my God!" So that same night, I picked them up. I started reading them, and I fell in love with it. And I'm like, "This is not the Star Wars that I've grew up watching 1,000,001 times." So I read it the first issue probably like 3 or 4 times. I read the first issue just to understand it.
Right. Yeah, I've never like I watched I mean, you didn't see the original trilogy in the cinema, did you?
No, I did not. The first one that I saw in cinema was Phantom Menace.
Right, but you'd seen them all on TV, I suppose. The movies.
Yeah. Saw them on TV. Had them on VHS, and at that time, we had, of course, like the VCR that was part of the TV, so you can literally put in a blank VHS. You can record it on TV, and I think think I had maybe 2 or 3 of the Star Wars ones, and I want to say one of them burned because I watched it so many times that the film actually burned.
We used to do that. We used to have like various shows. We'd watch over and over again. Like I remember one of the ones we used to watch was the Lord of the Rings, the cartoon version that they made. Like they made one of, and it was going to be a trilogy, I think, but they didn't bother making any others. We watched that so many times. It's like, and another like dodgy fantasy movie called Hawk the Slayer. It was so cheesy, but we knew all the lines from it, and we'd quote them to each other, and like we'd almost play out the scenes, like just craziness. When you're kids, though.
Exactly. That was the same thing. As kids, both my brother and I, we'd watch like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Then we'd watch like Power Rangers, and then right after that, we'd watch wrestling. And growing up, we'd watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We wanted to fight and act like we were turtles. Then we'd watch Power Rangers. We'd fight each other, acting like we're Power Rangers. And then we'd finish it off with wrestling at the end. And then by that point, Mom and Dad are just pissed off. Stop fighting!
I was gonna say, have you got any kids yet?
No kids yet. I do.
But you've got all that to come. You've got all that to come.
Exactly.
When they're watching the latest like film for the 50th time, and you know every line, and you'll be like, ah,
it's gonna kill me. That's something I've talked to my wife about. I'm like, I just pray and hope that they either like Star Trek, they like Star Wars, Harry Potter, or Lord of the Rings. It has to be one of those, or else they're gonna have to go out the door. I'm sorry.
Yeah, disown them.
That's it.
Send them off to a boarding school or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh dear. So Star Wars. There's so many different ones now. There's like how many series have there been? Because there was like originally was Marvel on it, and they say there was Dark Horse. Was that just one long run, or was it loads of different like sets?
So for the Marvel one, it was one whole long run of it. Then you have the Dark Horse one, which had, I want to say there's probably maybe 6 or 7. It was a long run of Dark Horse, and then they had like mini series as well, like Heir to the Throne. They had the Dark Empire.
Yeah.
So different things of that nature.
Are you trying to get all them as well, or?
No, I just want to go and get all of the Marvel run.
Yeah.
And I do want to get the keys. Like I have a few of the keys, which is really nice from like Dark Horse that I enjoy, and I actually really love reading them. They're really good stories. Kind of sad that they're not canon, but
yeah. That would annoy me. I mean, I've never I've got one Star Wars comic that I got because it came as part of another thing that I bought, and I'm not ready actually. Anyway, but what was I say now?
About canon being canon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that would annoy me. Not if you read the comics and the stories and you got into them and then you was like, oh no, that's not actually part of the story. That's like an imagine. I suppose it's like the old Silver Age in DC, like this is an imaginary story.
Exactly.
It's like an Elseworlds or something.
For sure. And that's something that now I think is really enjoyable, especially with like the series. I don't know if you're watching like Mandalorian.
I haven't got the channel for it, but hopefully one day I'll get to watch it.
I won't spoil anything for you, but certain things in that it actually comes from the actual novels that were not part of canon. And then the director and producer were like, hey, we love Star Wars. We love everything about Star Wars. We're going to use and pick and choose from everything that's available to us.
Yeah, is that Admiral Thrawn as well?
Admiral Thrawn is from Dark Horse, originally from Dark Horse. And then you had Dave Filoni, who did the animated series. He brought in Thrawn. And
too many characters to remember. Too many characters to remember. It's like the funny thing with all them characters, like why do they keep showing the same ones in the movies? They stuck to the same characters in the movies, didn't they? Did you enjoy the most recent trilogy?
I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I do enjoy it quite a bit. I like anything Star Wars, even from like the holiday special that was like on TV, and it's from like this. It was crazy, trippy, something like if you were on acid, you'd really lose your mind watching it, type of thing.
Got a question from chat again. Did you think that Princess Leia's hair was really cinnamon buns?
I did not. But she was my first princess. She was my first love. I still adore her. I sadly missed.
Yeah, same. I was a couple of times people have shown Star Wars books. I try not to repeat the same things that I say every time. But oh God, Ray's gone blank again. I'm trying to think of the when the new series came along and Skywalker came up, because I was not a massive Star Wars fan. I actually preferred Flash Gordon that came out around about the same time. But I was upset with how they dealt with Luke Skywalker, because I saw them all at the cinema, the first three, and I like Luke Skywalker as a character. And when he came in and kicked butt, and when they sort of had him in the new series, I was like, they didn't do much with him. I felt kind of like let down by that. I wanted him to be kicking butts and taking names and that kind of thing, but he was kind of like just another character that didn't really get used.
For sure. I'm with you on that. The first one that came out, Force Awakens, I enjoyed it a lot because it reminded me a lot of episode 4 or A New Hope. So that's something that I really enjoyed. I loved how it kind of played out. I enjoyed the ending because it was definitely like a little treat to me that I was going to get Luke Skywalker. And then everything that followed after, I wouldn't make the same choices as the directors did, but I know that a lot of times in film, yes, you're a director, but you always have the people in suits who make all the decisions for you. So as much as you want to do something, they have the final say. It's like, okay, yeah, that's what you want to do. That's fine and dandy, but this is what we want. So it's either you do what we want or you take the road.
Yeah, it seemed to me from like what I was just seeing articles and people talking about is they didn't really have a full vision of what the trilogy was going to be. It almost seems like they were making it up as they're on the fly kind of thing, and they changed things and forgot things and sort of teased things that never
happened.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's something that I did not enjoy with it at all. It was something that I think a lot of it as well with Carrie Fisher was hard to kind of get around because she played such a significant role in the film.
Yeah, and then for her to die, just like, so like, was it a little while after the second? Was it the second film? After the second film came out, or was it before the second film?
It was before the second film.
Yeah. Brain is useless today. Trying to figure what. I see a lot of people like complaining about this, that, and the other about the films. Do you think though that there's people just like to complain nowadays for the sake of it half the time? There's so many. I'm not like a massive Star Wars fan. I see lots of it, but there's some of it just seems like negativity and toxicity just for the sake of it, and a lot of it to get views, I think, and get clicks.
I am with you on that one. I don't agree with a lot of people out there. I think that majority of people out there aren't directors, and it's like, if you were to go and say, hey, Cookie, we want you to do a Star Wars film, there's no way I can do anything close to any of the Star Wars films out there. I couldn't even write a Star Wars comic book if I wanted to. There's no way that I can do it and it sells. So I think that people are looking on the outside like, oh, yeah, I could do better than what they did. And it's like, yeah, you really couldn't do better than what they did. Like the people who actually sat in that chair and directed and read everything out, there's no way.
And do you reckon there's too many people involved with them, and maybe not one vision that's seeing it through? Sometimes they kind of seem to write them by like they get a board together and they all throw in ideas.
They just pick it out of a hat. What are we going to do next?
That kind of thing, like they do with some of the TV shows. They have like a whole load of people writing them at the same time, don't they? And maybe they don't choose the best bits. I don't know.
That's something about Mandalorian that I enjoyed. It's all written by the same person, yet it's directed by different people, but it's produced by the same person, written by the same person. So their vision is what sits at the top, and it's just like, hey, I want you to make my vision come into reality. And it's crazy, like with the comic book, even with this, Darth Vader in the back of this is actually green, and there's so many things inside of the comic book itself that when you look at it and you actually read it, you're like, wow, this actually made it into a comic book, and this is actually something that really happened. Yeah.
That's a weird thing that I like slightly know about is it was kind of written at the same time as the film hadn't come out yet, and so like things happen in the comic book that don't happen in the film. Like that just seems like a weird concept to me. You think they would like at least like clue them in, like.
Absolutely. The first 6 issues of the volume 1 is almost identical to A New Hope. Then it's from 7 to 13, I think it is going to be just like kind of crappy filler. And then they were thinking this is what's going to happen in the next movie, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So how far does it end up drifting away from what actually happens? Is it like a completely different story after you get to past issue 7?
It's a completely different story. It's like I think they got like a main gist of what's going to happen, but then you look at it and it's like Jabba the Hutt doesn't look like Jabba the Hutt at all. He's like a slim, skinny green dude, not this fat pizza man looking guy. So,
well, so even the character they didn't even have the blinking. They didn't even know what the characters were going to look like.
exactly. Like Luke Skywalker has red lightsaber instead of a green lightsaber or a blue lightsaber, stuff like that. Yeah.
Right, fair enough. All right, we're coming up to the hour now, so I can't think of anything else to talk at the moment. And do you have anything else you want to add about Star Wars? Do you think the future is bright, or do you think they're going to be like another not so good trilogy, or do you know what's coming from it in the future?
I think it's going to be enjoyable. I just like you. I'm very nervous about it because I don't want what's going to happen is like it's saturated with all the Star Wars and people kind of just get, oh, I don't want to see any more Star Wars. I'm done with Star Wars. It's too saturated.
I was wondering if it's like the Mandalorian, like Tale. Was it? I saw someone said there was going to be like a. I don't know if I heard this and then thought it would be a good idea, but whether I've actually heard it was actually happening. Like Tales from the Mos Cantina, whatever it's called. Mos Eisley Cantina. Was that actually a thing that I heard, or did I dream that?
I think it's going to be part of. I'm trying not to spoil it for you. Certain characters that are introduced in season 2. They're going to have their own.
That's happening. Show. Okay. That's happening in Mandalorian, is it?
Yeah. So they're going to have their own little spin-off, and because of that, I think Mos Eisley is going to be definitely a key factor in the tales of what happens there.
All right. And did the comic books ever go into the history of Greedo?
Yes, actually. Yeah. Is it what? I think it's issue. I think it's in this one. It's issue 3 or 4. I want to say of the Star Wars Volume 1. Where they talk a lot more about Greedo, and of course, like back in the day when you saw it in like the cinema, Han was the one that shot first. Yeah. In the comic book, Han shot only. Greedo did not even shoot at all. So right off the bat, it's Han who shot first. No
homicide, straightforward homicide. Nothing else. Han should have been taken in long ago. I'll take it.
Funny.
Was Greedo a bit of a wrong one though? Was he?
Yeah, he definitely was. But he's a cool character for sure.
All right. Who's your favorite Star Wars character? Did I ask you that already? I did. No. Who's your favorite Star Wars? Anyone. That hasn't got to be like one of the main ones.
Okay, I'll probably say Qui-Gon Jinn is one of my favorite, which is
he's the one who taught
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah. Okay. Because he's only in the first of the first prequels, wasn't he?
Correct. Yeah, and then after that.
Has he had lots of comic book stories about him as well, though?
Yes, he has had comic book stories, and he's also been in the animated series as well. Because he actually learned how to become a ghost, and he's like a Jedi ghost, and he ends up teaching through like the ghost spirit world, if you will.
Okay, right. Super critical. What's the worst thing about Star Wars? What thing has most irked you?
The worst thing about Star Wars that's irked me. The last movies. Honestly, the last movies are probably the worst thing that's really irked me. Is for me it was rushed. It was not done too well. It could have been definitely done a lot better. I think that there was, like you said, there's a lot of hands that were in the pot, and I think if they had less hands inside there and had a main focus on storyline, it might have been a little better.
Do you think that they made her too powerful and like have no kind of like learning arc? She's one of the quickest.
Exactly. Yes. The fact that it was like second nature to her type of thing. Some of the stuff that happens as far as like having gasoline or having space gas, whatever you call, run out, never been a thing in Star Wars previously. Why is it something now? So there are things that they like, I guess, are plot holes in the story that could have been definitely taken care of if they actually just put a little bit more thought and consideration into new fans and old fans.
All right, interesting. But I suppose a lot of people don't know the intricacies. You've got to be like a real kind of Star Wars geek to know all the like, some of those things. But it must be annoying to people who do know that, though, to see it not being treated as it should be. Because that's the very least thing. The people writing the movie should know bloody absolutely everything, or at least consult with someone who knows absolutely everything.
Exactly.
You point out these little, little silly
details. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna let you finish up because I've got my dinner is now. I've been sitting there for an hour getting cold, and that was my own fault. I can't believe I forgot today was a Wednesday and I was supposed to be chatting to you, even though I've been talking to you like the last couple of days. Literally, I lay down on my bed with my dinner and I was like, have I got any videos going up tonight? No, I was supposed to. No, I thought, hold on a second, it's Wednesday. Oh my God, I'm supposed to be doing it. And literally, that was 2 minutes to 11 when I was supposed to be talking to you. So, oops.
No problem at all. No problem.
Okay. Right. Anything coming up on your channel you want to tell anyone about?
I have a couple of unboxing videos that I'm going to be doing. I do want to go and do like my little wish list for 2021. Last year I did it on Instagram, and it was a crazy, outlandish wish list. So I've narrowed it down a lot. Thanks to Magic Labs who's in the chat. He's been helping me out a lot with that, trying to figure out how to go and really hone in on the books that I want to get. Right now my microphone actually broke on me, so I'm just using headphones. Right. So for the podcast, it's been on a hiatus for a little bit. Hopefully, once they have them in stock, I'll be podcasting a lot more.
Sounds good, though. I can hear you all right. Sounds fine. Yeah. What is your big key, your big grail? Have you got you really want to have before you die, kind of thing?
X-Men 94 is definitely my big grail for me. I don't want a giant size X-Men. I want the X-Men 94, the second appearance of like all the new X-Men.
Right. Okay, cool. Why did you want that one rather than the first appearance?
I feel like giant size X-Men so overrated in a sense.
Yeah, it's 94 the one where one of them gets killed. I can't remember his name now. Who's the guy getting a Thunderbird?
Yes, because the old X-Men end up kind of leaving, and then part of them come back to go and
That's really weird, like the X-Men story, because like apparently that book was sucking and no one was liking it, and like it was that relaunch that kind of made the X-Men a thing. You think about it now, if someone said like when you don't know, like so I think the first time I heard that X-Men wasn't popular and it was tanking, and like they did reprints for about 20 of them or something like that because there wasn't no one was buying it. Yeah, it's like what? It's like kind of hard to believe when you think of sort of, how much it was selling when I first encountered it.
Absolutely. But, that's like the Star Wars book. This is the first print and the first edition. I got this for $20. Now you can't get it for $20. Same thing with you with getting the Harley Quinn.
Yeah, I know. I'm lucky. Yeah, but that's the thing. Yeah, sometimes when you're thinking about getting a run, and the older books are like no price, and suddenly something comes out, and suddenly that book's gone up into the stratosphere. And it's like, oh man, why didn't I get that bloody before? And I had the chance. Like I had the chance to buy first Rogue for $10. And like I was like, oh no, I'm gonna get some smaller books instead, like get more for my money kind of thing. It wasn't that flush.
I actually have one.
Yeah, now it's probably gone. I forget since I didn't buy it for £10, it's now shot up in price, I think. So what can you do?
Yeah, I actually got mine for $10, and it's graded 9.8, and I've been holding off on selling it. I've been wanting to sell it just to go, because yes, it's enjoyable, but there's other books that I want to go and get that I think I have more of an appreciation for.
Yeah, if you've got that mentality and that kind of where you're able to let books go. I've got 5 short boxes of comics that I don't even need or want, or they're doubles, and I don't. That's kind of mostly lazy, to be honest. I need to get rid of them so I can get some money for them and buy some more stuff. But yeah, I kind of had a couple of tries and then didn't sell it. And I was like, I tried doing some mystery boxes. I sold one, and it was like, so every time I try and sell them, it doesn't go. Then I just give up. I'll sod it. They can just sit there gathering dust. Anyway,
my wife's the same way. My wife is the same way, but
yeah. Right. Thanks for coming on, mate. It was cool chatting to you.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, and I think I did have someone for next week. Nick, I think it's Nick the comic book nerd. I can't remember now, but they've actually just messaged me before I come and started talking to you, saying that they've actually accidentally booked work. So if anyone out there wants to come on next Wednesday, hit me up on IG, and you can come and tell us about your 5 books. Anyway, cheers, mate.
Take care.
See you later.
Bye bye.